What the hell have I gotten myself into? So, what would it be like to go from a track day to an actual race? Welcome back, everybody. Have you ever wanted to go endurance racing? For years, I've been thinking about putting together a 24 Hours of Lemons team, but realizing it's much easier to join a team than to build a car, I went to the 24 Hour Lemons page. So I put my info out there, and then I got contacted by Racecar owner Hans Karekas. Hans asked me if I'd ever heard of the Lucky Dog Racing League. He told me Lucky Dog was an amateur racing event, but that we wouldn't have to wear any funny costumes. There was a race coming up about a month away, and one of his drivers couldn't make it. So when he asked me if I didn't mind filling in for one race, hell yeah! Hell yeah! This event was going to be held at the Rockingham Speedway in North Carolina. 7 hours of endurance racing on Saturday, and then 8 hours on Sunday. So a day before the event, I packed up my safety gear, flew down, grabbed a rental car, and drove to Rockingham Speedway. Lucky Dog Racing League was founded by Kathy Fuss in 2015. Kathy started Lucky Dog Racing League so that people who are new to racing or endurance racing would have tracks where they could build up their skills at some of the most famous road racing courses in America. And the rules state any production vehicle 2006 and earlier is eligible to race if set up correctly. Each team had to field a minimum of 2 drivers, but it seemed that there were as many as 4 per team at this event. This event had 45 teams entered, which meant there were probably 150 to 200 drivers in the room. Although this is strictly an amateur racing event, and there were a few new drivers like myself present, there were a couple guys in the crowd that I think might have been ringers? And if you haven't already guessed by looking at, this 1996 Crown Victoria was a former 24 Hours of Lemons car that Hans bought about 4 years ago. And according to Hans, everything, and I mean everything on this P73 platform had to be upgraded for endurance racing. Some of this included adding about 100 horsepower to the 4.62 valve, 14-inch 6-piston brakes in front, 13-inch 4-piston brakes in the back, a 1.5-inch sway bar, and a better ABS system. For wheels and tires, the car ran Hankook RS4 295 40s on 18x11 rims. Now, any race car is subject to rules, including ours. For this car, this included a 6-point roll cage, a full fire suppression system, a 6-point safety harness, window nets, and a containment seat, to name a few. And don't let the looks fool you. This car actually was very capable and a lot of fun to drive. And here is the team. Hans, our team captain, truck driver, and former circle track racer. Rick, a regional sales manager and former circle track racer. Dan, who's a paramedic and also a former circle track racer. Eddie, a retired fighter pilot, airline pilot, and you guessed it, former circle track racer. And then last and definitely least, the FNG. Green, green, green. Hans warned me not to let the car temperature get over 230 degrees. And I'm not gonna lie, I had butterflies when I pulled up to the start.
Just went green, go boss!
Because up to this very moment, I had never driven this car before, I'd never been in a road race, and I'd never even been on this track. Shouldn't be too hard to keep up, right? And in keeping with my usual strategy of getting a good start and then slowly working my way to the back of the pack, I decided to give these guys some passing practice. As luck would have it, as soon as I started to put down my best lap times, I started to get consistent high temperature warnings. Since I was the third driver out of 5, I didn't want to be the guy who blows up the car before everybody's had a chance on the first day. So I brought it back to the pits to see if Hans and Dan could figure out what was wrong.
What I was seeing was this red light was coming on at about 230 degrees every time I got the gas, but I didn't want to throw the car away either from overheating, so I just came in.
As the day went on, more and more cars ended up in the paddock for repairs. And by the end of day one, most of the cars were still running, but there were some that weren't. And unfortunately, that included us. In addition to some cooling issues, a short that affected the ignition system, the Crown Victoria also sustained a cracked block near the bell housing. But even though there was no day two for our team, it doesn't mean I didn't have fun, because I really did. So, do you have any guesses as to my best lap time? Well, get out your stopwatch. Let's go. So I'm going to ask you again. Want to go racing?
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!